Hi, and welcome to episode 2 of the Struggle Podcast. So, today we are going to start on the adventure of Bob or his saga of becoming a new person. And as we talked about last time, we were going to talk about goals, ambitions, dreams, kind of to set the direction for Bob. And I think this is the place to start because if you don't have the direction, well, you don't know where you're going. You don't know where to put your effort in on and so on. Because when you have your end, your direction, then you also can figure out the plan to get to your end. So when we talked about Bob last time, he came to me and he said he felt like shit. And this time, I would ask him, Bob, what are your goals in life? What do you want with life? And the answer he would give would be something like, well, I want to live a good life. I want to have money. I want to not have a care about I should do this and I should do that. Freedom, essentially. And he would like a good family and so on and so on. I said, yeah, that sounds pretty good. Like everyone else wants. I mean, what about your ambitions? What's the thing driving you in life? And he would say, well, I don't really have anything driving me. I just watch TV. I play video games, and I work. And I say, okay, what do you work with? He's a programmer. He says he works at a company where he programs for them. I'm not so much into programming. Okay, I just yeah make this up. And he really likes it, and he would like to maybe do some more of it because he doesn't really like his job. He likes programming, but he doesn't like his job. So I would say, well, can you go full time self-employed, teach it, program for others or such thing? And yeah, he could. Well, why don't you do it then? And that's the thing, because his time would be his spare time would only be about watching television and playing video games. And of course, seeing friends and family occasionally in the weekends. Um, so I would say to him, great. What about if we set the goal on being a self-employed programmer? And he would say, that sounds pretty nice. Okay. Now we've set a goal. That's great. Okay. So I asked him, Bob, now we've set your goal. What about planning? How are you going to get to that goal? And he would say, well, guess I have to do something in my free time now. I would say, yes, you're absolutely right. Now you are going to program. You are going to, first, you got to find out if you want to be, you know, teaching programming or if you want to program as a freelancer or the sort for other companies, because the approach is quite different, I would say. But he would definitely have to do something in his free time to either call up companies to ask them if he could program some sort for them, or if he should try to reach out to potential customers who would be interesting to learn in programming. So, but okay, his goal would now be to become self-employed. That's great. That's a goal. And I think this is very important to have a goal because, as I said before, if you don't have anything, you don't have anything to strive for, and you lose touch with yourself and you lose touch with the world. You're like, again, the question, what am I supposed to do? So that's very important. And for my own goals and dreams, I've had a lot in my time of goals and dreams. I mean, many as a kid, going from wanting to be a zookeeper to wanting to teach something I didn't know what, but I was told that when I explained things, it was pretty easy to understand when I explained things. So I was like, okay, pretty good at teaching and explaining, but what should I teach? Then I, through high school, got a interest for finances and investing. So I started university degree, a bachelor's degree in business, economics, and administration, I believe it's called, BA. And not with the essence of teaching it, but I really liked finance and wanted to dive into them and study it. So I did. And during those years, I was like, okay, being a kind of, working in a bank and advising people either of what type of loans, their finances, and also investing could be. So kind of investing advisor of the sort. That was like, oh, that sounds pretty nice. So I started a master's degree in finance in investments, and the first semester of that, I honestly hated it. So I was kind of in despair to like, okay, the thing I had thought I would ended up being so hard and so difficult for me, and I hated, I would almost say not every minute of it, that's not true, but a lot of the time I didn't want to study or do anything with it. So I my mind started scattering off elsewhere to go for new ideas and new things to aspire to, because my dream and goals suddenly came crashing down on me and I didn't have anything else to go for. So, well, before I started my master's degree, back when I was studying the BA, about third or fourth semester, I think it was, I broke up with my girlfriend after we had been together for 4.5 years. And I was at a loss because I really, loved her, and it was a very hard time for me. And which I talked a bit about last time, that I struggled a lot with myself, and that was in the time that I really realized how much I struggled with myself. And I was like, there must be something better, something else instead of all this struggling and hating myself. That just can't be it. So I at an accident actually found a YouTube video about self-help, and that was my start of my self-help journey back in, I think it was August 2020 when I first come upon that YouTube video, which said, or what was the title? It was I can't remember the exact title, but it was something about don't chase girls. That was the title. I think it was don't chase girls and they will chase you, or something like that. So my self-help improvement journey started with, how can I get girls to chase me? And I suddenly found out that for girls to chase you, you should become, self-confident in yourself. And how to say it, not make girls the number one priority of your life. And I was like, what does this mean? How can this be? Because throughout my life, I haven't necessarily been taught to make girls and women priority of my life. I think that's just kind of what you say, how the society treats the way that men should think about women through movies, music, entertainment, otherwise. And actually, that's not true. I found out a harsh truth for me back in 2020 when I was, well, what was I? I was 22, 22 years old. And I just had to, start to become this man. And it has been a long journey, and I'm still not there. I realized that it's a lifelong journey to become the person and the man that you want to be, or woman, for that sake, of course. But it's a journey that I have been on for quite some years, and with that journey, I found out that I do not only want to make this journey for myself, I want to share what I learn. I want to share it with you so that you can benefit from the knowledge that I have gained throughout these, 4 years of, you could say, studying self-development, but also health and psychology, and lately starting into philosophy, which is pretty interesting, actually. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. But what I'm trying to say is that my goal, my dream, my vision is to be teaching these things to people, to help others become, maybe not better persons, but like in themselves more, become more confident in themselves, and gaining more self-worth, and so on. So what my vision is to, just want to keep doing this for the rest of my life, and I need practice. I know that I'm just beginning to share, which is it's weird. I'm not used to it. And practice makes perfect, even though no one can become perfect, but you can get better, and I can get better, and I will in time. So in short, my goals and dreams have varied a lot across the years, and now I have a big and broad vision about what I want to do, and I sort of have scattered out a plan, but I realize all the time that it's not a very good plan. But it gets better every time. And that's also a thing that I've learned pretty recently, which Mike Manson said is one of his books. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, where he said, you are wrong all the time. We all are. Just look in the past, how wrong we have been about certain things and certain aspects of life, ourselves as human beings, and so on and so on. So the goal in life should be to become a little less wrong every day. To say, okay, a year ago I was so much wrong of what I thought, believed in, and said, and so on. And a year from now, you should be able to say the same. So the things that I talk about now, I might be wrong in the future. Right now, I believe in them until that I have been proved wrong about them, which is kind of the way I also live. So I think that's very, very exciting, that you should aspire to become better and less wrong, in essence, in the future. So it's a bit a little of a clusterfuck this episode about goals and dreams and visions, but a little bit about how to find it yourself. I believe that there's a lot going on in the internet about you have to search for your purpose and find your purpose and so on. And it always, I was kind of vomiting about it at the end, because I think that you don't have to search for your purpose. You can just make your purpose or create your purpose, in that sense that you could just say, okay, I don't know what to do right now. Maybe I would just go on and become a pro surfer. Then that will be your purpose. You try and go to places where you can surf and learn how to surf better. And someday you might be able to teach surfing, for example, and you could live off that. And that would be your purpose. So you didn't have to go like on a pilgrimage or some deep inside of you search, some deep search inside of you, where you would spend months trying to figure out what's my purpose and what would I like to do. And maybe you would go, yeah, Christopher, that sounds pretty easy when you know what to do. But if you don't know, that's kind of hard. And I get it. So some advices for finding purpose would be, first of all, I've listened to some books recently in the way of the superior man, and I started on Arnold Schwarzenegger's Be Useful, which great book. I've not finished it, but great. Gotta say that. And both of them says that you should create space and time for you to let your thoughts wander off. And that would be to stay away from, or not stay away, but lessen the amount of consumption of TV, video games, and so on, but instead create space where you are just there with yourself in the moment, being present. Arnold, he advises on going on walks and says that there have been plenty of research done that walks help to be creative. And I would say I like walks a lot. Have they helped me be more creative? I can't really say. I have not thought about it, but they have lightened up my moods and made me more excited to do things. So I can recommend going on walks and try it to just ponder on some thoughts about anything. And at some time, I don't know how long it would take. Maybe it would take one walk. Maybe it would take 52 weeks. I don't know. But in the end, you're going to find something. I can promise you that. So that would be an double advice: to create time and space away from sources of entertainment, and to go on walks and wander in your thoughts, or maybe just sit, look outside the window and just wander off. Not too much though. Everything has its, what you say, time. Don't wander off too much, because that will just make you going on in circles and in a spiral, and you will become more miserable than you actually feel. So about, what can you say, maybe half an hour a day. You just go for a walk and you come back and maybe feel more refreshed and clear in your head. And maybe find your purpose. Who knows? Okay. And I think that would be the end of this episode. And I hope that dreams, visions, and so on. No, there's one more thing. And that is from, it's not Arnold talked about it in his book as well, but I also know a book called So Good They Can't Ignore You by Colin Newport. I haven't read it myself, but I really like to. And it's about, again, the thing that you should not search for your purpose here in life, but instead of being focused on purpose, instead being focused on skills, at what are you actually good at? What are you obsessing about doing? What makes you lose track of time? And here we're not talking about going in video games and television, because that's just passively taking away your time. Here we are talking about a skill, something you do actively, where you lose track of time. You just do it and you love it, and you forget to eat, and you forget to go to the toilet and so on. You just keep pushing on because you can't stop. That's a really great place to start, going off what you want to do here in life. So if you like writing stories, writing poems, that will be a great thing to chase. Or maybe you like to play music and make music, but then you would say, but Christopher, that's a really hard thing to accomplish, to make a living out of these things. I get it. It's true. But in the same essence is also the best time ever to make a living out of these things, because of social media, which I'm talking to right now. So there's actually no excuse. So just go with it. And I know it can be, what you say, it can create fear to share these things, because you might be used to do it by yourself, which is what I have been, making all these things and thinking about it and reading about it and so on. So I'm not used to sharing it and talking with people about it. But I can assure you, it's worth it. It's really nice to share what you love. So if you have something you like to be creative about, start sharing it. That's my advice. And if not, I think that you could just find, if you might have had a lifelong dream from your child, perhaps. Maybe you wanted to play the piano, for example, or another instrument, and just go off and do it. And then if you become good enough, again, you could teach it at social media, showing off your skills and teach others how to become as good as you. That's just a way to monetize a hobby. There are many other ways to do it, which I can't come up with now. Well, you could play for others, restaurants, gatherings, so on, become a musician yourself, so to say. But in the end, it's all about you at last. What do you want to do? And how are you going to get it? Half an hour a day, when you have found your purpose, go and make another half hour a day to fine or tone your skills in that, not to say purpose, but skill you have chosen to become your purpose. Which is, it's a hard thing to do, but it's worthwhile, because it's all up in your head. And those listen to the audio could not see that I just poked my head, but I did. I swear to God, I poked it and pointed at it. It's all in your head, what you want to do and what you want in your life, how you're going to get there, and if you do it or not. It's all you, in your head and in your chest. I say that to you. So that was a little motivational speech, I think, for you to go chase your dreams, take action, go get it. You can do it. I believe in you. And I think that would be the end of this episode. And you know, if we just have to round it up, we would finish Bob. We haven't talked that much about IC, but Bob would start. He would start making more time for him to pursue this choice he have made about becoming a self-employed programmer. So the next episode will be a bit about how to make this time, where we're going to talk a bit about habits, which I think is a very interesting topic to talk about. We are going to talk about, first of all, the habits you might do that are not good for you or your mental health or your physical health, maybe. And we are going to talk about the habits that you could substitute in to get better or get a better mental health and also physical health and just better overall state of being, so to say. Because I think that there are a lot of habits, actually both modern and some that have been around for centuries, that we should really not do, but everyone does them of a pretty specific reason, which I would talk about in the next section. So here at last, I just would do some book recommendations. If you would like to look something, I talked a little bit about Cal Newport's So Good They Can't Ignore You. I have not read it. The most books that I would say now I have not read, but I know that they are about skill, meaning, purpose, and others have recommended them, and I want to read them, so I would recommend them to you to read them. So yeah, that's the first. And then there's Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl, a more philosophical way to deep into meaning, which sounds pretty interesting to me. Then there's Simon Sinek's Start with Why and Find Your Why. Not read those two, but they should also be pretty great. And then there are the book, or actually I have it right here. You can't see it on the audio, but it's the book by Paul Auden. It's not how good you are, it's how good you want to be. I posted the title as a quote on my Instagram some days ago, and it's a quote that I instantly took to me, and it's a good book. I would do a book review about it sometime. As you can see, I haven't finished it, but it's quite a light read, so I have skimmed most of it. And when I have read it, I will do a book review or a book resume, book recommendation. I don't know quite how I will do it, but I will do it. I promise. And then the book I started at yesterday, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Be Useful, is called Be Useful because that's the advice his father gave him. He said, Arnold, be useful. And when I read about it and when I listened to it, and when I read about the book and I listened to the audiobook, which Arnold reads himself, and it's incredible. I love his voice and his English dialect. It's great. I love it. But he says this, and I got goosebumps both times when I read it and when I heard it. So great books. I'm planning on doing a book recommendation list on a potential blog, actually, which I don't know where it's gonna come. It's gonna come at some time when I have time to make it. I don't have that much time to make it at the moment, but I would like to. And I just talked about how to make time. That's pretty ironic. Yeah, but that's the book I would recommend. Check it out. Check them out if you would. And I plan to do some small book recommendations at the end of each episode of, the Saga of Bob, to dive a little bit more into the things that I talk about. Because in truth, most of the knowledge that I have gotten throughout the years are through the internet. YouTube videos, Google research, blog posts, you name it. But I found out that it have always come from people reading some books about the subject, or going to some motivational speakers who knows about this stuff, so to say. So I was just like, okay, then I'm just gonna dive into the books, and it's amazing. The books are way better than the advices that you get on the internet. So that's why and that was actually a roast to myself. I just realized, great. But I would say go and read some books. Not all the books are good, and it can easily become a kind of consumption if you don't take the action that the books propose, which is a subject I will go into in the future. Which is why I think that you should remember to not only consume knowledge and information, but also to take action on that knowledge and information, which is a very important part. Also one of the harder parts. You might think, okay, reading a book, that's pretty hard, or at least a nonfiction book. Taking that action required in that nonfiction book, that's hard. But again, well worth it. And last note. It's only hard if you imagine it to be hard in here in your head. And again, to those in the audio, I'm pointing onto my head. And also, that's also a thing we're gonna talk about in the Saga of Bob. Not in the next episode, but maybe in the 4th episode, I believe. The mentality on how to go and take the decisions and take action towards a better life. Which is surprisingly maybe different from what you believe, and maybe a new way to see it, which might work better for you and be easier for you. Yeah, that's gonna be it from this episode. It got longer than I expected. Quite a lot of rambling, which happens, as I said. I practice, and I honestly think that this episode went a lot better than the first episode. So already improving. Yay! That's only good. But I will round it up from this episode here. I will see you on the social media, and until then,